Hello, I'm Steve Wass, the Mayor of Kingborough Council. We're located south of Hobart in Tasmania. At Kingborough, we recognise that climate change is one of the greatest challenges that our community faces this century, and our council is committed to leading the way and responding to the impacts at the local level. Our municipality has over 330 kilometres of coastline with a backdrop of stunning native bushland. We have a number of coastal communities and ecosystems that will be at risk due to the future impacts of climate change.
Climate change presents a diverse array of challenges for many Australian coastal settlements. This video presents a summary of the methods and findings of an innovative case study of climate change adaptation in Kingston Beach. This project came about because of an ongoing commitment by some staff within Council who recognised the need to mainstream climate change into decision making and turn it into a whole of organisation response.
The Kingston Beach project came from an assessment of Council's adaptation governance indicators. We used a climate planning assessment tool funded by the state government. That way we were able to ascertain where we were at in terms of climate change response and adaptation. It also directed that we use a case study approach, and Kingston Beach was an ideal case for us to concentrate on how we might communicate and measure risk in a way that was translatable across the municipality.
Kingston Beach has a long history of being exposed to bushfires, flooding and coastal inundation. Drawing from newspaper archives and historical records, Catherine Evans, a local historian, provided Kingborough Council with a detailed insight of the recorded extreme events which occurred in Kingston Beach since the late 1800s. Between 1847 and 2015, there have been several long-standing droughts and 24 bushfire sightings, as well as 16 storm events and 21 cases of flooding, some of which caused coastal inundation. Kingborough Council focused on an all-hazards approach to the Kingston Beach project to better link the potential synergies of disaster risk reduction with climate change adaptation. The research has linked global climate issues with the local effects. Global climate change is anticipated to exacerbate many of the natural hazards in Tasmania. The main risks identified in the project were bushfires, dam break, riverine flooding, tsunami, coastal inundation and landslip. Identifying the risks required collaboration with a collection of specialists and experts with a wealth of research. Council engaged climate planning as the project lead to collate and analyse information from a broad range of sources, with many technical specialists providing valuable information for the study. For example, Dr. John Hunter, an IPCC author, provided the latest sea level rise details. Rod Knight from Natural Resource Planning analysed the natural values, and Mark Baker-Jones from Dibbs Barker explored legal risks and solutions. Council also engaged Bill Cromer to undertake localised studies of the water table. In general, the project involved 6 key stages. Stage 1 focused on clearly informing the elected councillors throughout the 12-month study. The councillors showed considerable interest in the project and recognised climate change as a legal risk to the organisation. The second stage focused on gathering data through site surveys and desktop analysis. The project team undertook a review of the social, economic and natural attributes in Kingston Beach and identified key council assets. The initial stages also involved talking to key stakeholders such as utility providers from TasWater and TasNetworks about how they might respond to future climate risks. In Stage 3, the team identified a range of natural hazards for the study site, including sea level rise, flooding, dam break, bushfire and landslip. Climate planning used GIS software to quantify the extent of the exposure for a range of current and future scenarios. Kingborough's engineering team modelled the riverine and coincident flooding in Kingston Beach. Where possible, they applied climate change perturbations to better understand future risks. The consultants at Climate Planning presented 3D modelling to support the visualisation of key climate risks, like this scenario of a current coincident flood event in Kingston Beach. Kingborough Council has also used the project to increase its own internal capacity for informed decision making. For example, Council used the Kingston Beach project as a case study for refining and expanding its flood modelling capacity. A key component of the project was quantifying council and community assets exposed to a range of natural hazards. Climate Planning created a unique data visualisation tool to graphically display the results. This is one of our risk dashboards used by the project management team, which allows users to interactively identify information about specific risks in Kingston Beach. Let's say users want to know more about the current flood risk. They would simply click one of the scenarios from the drop-down list and be able to view a map of the flood-prone areas, the replacement costs for each asset class, and a percentage breakdown of these costs. The dashboard also displays more specific information about assets, such as the length of roads affected, and can be customised to highlight different infrastructure assets or social amenities which may be exposed. This tool allows users to compare the total replacement costs for current flood risk against other risk scenarios, or to explore the flood risk with a climate change perturbation. The dashboard can be adapted for community information and embedded into a website. As well as the online display of some of the data, a community information event was also held to share some of the initial draft results with residents and businesses in the Kingston Beach area. Approximately 90 residents attended the event, with some participants expressing a range of views. Some residents applauded the project, while others raised their concerns about how the risk mapping had made it very difficult to receive any development approvals for existing properties in known risk areas. The project recommended ongoing community engagement, with the next event scheduled in May 2016. Climate change adaptation is not just a council responsibility, it also requires community support and stakeholder collaboration. For example, TasWater, TasNetworks and the NBN network are key providers of services, and the viability of the community is also affected by their ability to identify and respond to the emerging challenges. In Stage 6, the team explored international and national examples of climate change adaptation. From this research, a compendium of adaptation options was presented in order to help planners and other decision makers to identify and assess possible management actions. Kingston Beach has a broad range of adaptation options. The next step in the project will be to ensure that there is no increased risk to known climate-related risks. Responses may include limiting development or requiring development to adjust to the current and future risks. Other options include increasing development yields in resilient locations to help finance potential coastal and flood protection systems. However, any of these adaptation options require initial investment, ongoing investigations, community buy-in and support of state legislation.
Kingborough was one of the first local government areas in Australia to implement a specific climate change adaptation policy where we committed to improving our climate change adaptation governance. We are also proposing to establish a climate change adaptation innovation lab. We think that a local government-led adaptation innovation lab could be a world's first. The lab will aim to inspire students, to engage stakeholders and to showcase real-world adaptation options. At Kingborough, we recognise that being leaders in climate change adaptation, we can foster innovation and capitalise on the associated opportunities that climate change may bring, rather than dwelling on the risk and the consequences.
The Kingston Beach project highlights the critical link between emergency management and climate change adaptation. As well as helping Kingborough Council develop future climate change adaptation options, this project will also contribute important lessons for similar Australian coastal communities.